Are you home educating, but no one told you that it would be so difficult? Maybe you've heard that discovering your child's strengths is important, but how do you do that? And why is it important? Are you looking to ignite the spark in your home education environment? Who isn't? You're going to love today's topic. We're talking about be a student of your student, and I have a special guest joining me today. My name is Diane Rolston. Welcome to Spark Homeschool Parent. Each week, we bring you strategies to ignite the spark that engages your child's learning. SPARK is an acronym, and this past month, we've been focusing on strengths. If you didn't join me last month, I was sharing some of my stories about overcoming resistance and how discovering your child's strengths may help with that. And I want to welcome all of you. I've heard from some of you who are just starting on this homeschool journey. Maybe it will be a short one. Maybe you're beginning a long journey of homeschooling. But I really want to welcome you because you are just doing what you need to just get a great start. So you are definitely welcome here. Some of you I have reconnected with who I was homeschooling with. You have younger children now and you're still there and you're persevering, and that's awesome. And you're just looking, things are different when you have been homeschooling for a long time. You're just looking for that spark in your home education environment. So welcome to you. Some of you also may find yourself homeschooling, didn't really think this was what your plan was, and you may be doing it temporarily. Welcome to you too. Educating your children at home is not easy. Nobody will say that it is, but you don't need to do it alone. I'd love it if, as you come onto this live stream, you just let us know where you're coming from. Hi, Taria, I see you there. And or if you're listening to the replay, we'd love to hear your comments. We'd love to hear from you. Tell us a little bit about yourself. What does it mean to be a student of your student? Today we'll discover why noticing your child's strengths will change your outlook on home education and bring joy, what I call that spark, back into your home. I also heard from some of you who actually aren't homeschooling, but you are sharing this group with others that you know are on this journey. So I really appreciate that. You that are homeschooling, I know that you know at least 1, 2, most likely more families that are homeschooling and could really benefit from hearing the stories of homeschool masters. Not that we've mastered, but just that we've been in it for a long time. And share some of the discussions that we're having. I'm sure they would appreciate it. This is Spark Homeschool Parent, and I'm Diana Rolston, and today the conversation is be a student of your student. The guest that I have the privilege to introduce is a homeschool mom of 5 grown children and a grandmom to many. Her children are homeschooling moms now, which is a testimony for sure. She's a speaker and an advocate for unique learners. She has many, many years of experience in homeschool environment, and now she focuses on equipping and encouraging families who have students with unique learning differences. In her role as the Director of Marketing and Promotions at National Institute for Learning Development, she helps train educational therapists in techniques that strengthen children's thinking processes. Her support and encouragement has been really invaluable to me in my educational therapy practice, as I call on her often, and she's very gracious with me. And I have the privilege of calling her a friend. And of course, I wanted her to be my very first guest. Today, I have the pleasure of introducing Diane Geerlinks. Welcome.
Well, hello. So fun to be here.
Yes.
To encourage you on your journey, but certainly so many homeschool parents. So thanks.
Thank you. And yeah, I'm very happy that you could join us today. You play a lot of roles these days.
True.
The role.
Haven't we always done that?
Yeah, you probably have. The role that we're going to be focusing on today is your role as a homeschool master. I was originally going to say a homeschool veteran, but really that just has age. It's not, and it's not that we've mastered it. It's yeah, you have, I would say, successfully homeschooled your 5 children. And
yeah,
now,
I guess we could say successfully. They're graduated.
Yes. I'd like you to start by just like transporting yourself to your days of homeschooling. Tell me a little bit about those days.
Yeah, when we started in the 80s, late 80s, if you could believe it, we were just going to homeschool 1 year. Let's just homeschool for kindergarten. Nobody was doing this crazy thing. And so we just began with this idea that, you know what, I think I could manage kindergarten. And I was an ECE grad at the time, so I thought, that's easy enough. I can do this. And then it grew, and we did grade 1, and then we thought, oh, we'll do it till grade 3, and we just kind of continued. And so it was, and of course at the same time you're adding, for our family, we were adding more children. So we're having babies. And so, we have 5 children and homeschooled them all the way through to high school. Never did I ever expect that that's what would happen, but it was a journey, and I still call it a journey because that's what it is. You learn a little bit as you go, just like you enter parenthood without really knowing what in the world you're doing. You have this baby and you're researching and learning and asking questions, and the same thing goes for homeschooling. So and a day in our life meant, it changed, I would say, year by year. What I thought we would do when we started homeschooling changed as the years went on, for sure.
Interesting, because I would suspect that that's probably the start for many parents. It's hard to imagine. I in the 80s, there weren't a lot of people homeschooling, so you didn't know really what you're getting into. So you don't want to commit through.
No. You don't want to ruin their life.
The same was for me. We were going to be traveling that year, so we use that as an excuse. We'll homeschool till Christmas, and then you just learn to love it, eh?
Yeah.
So you didn't have a lot of support. Did you feel that aloneness?
You know what? I had a neighbor that homeschooled with us, and so that was beautiful. So I had one other family.
Nice.
And at the time, of course, there was no online. So when the homeschool magazine came in the mail, I would hide in the bathroom to read it, because the articles were like, oh my goodness, there's other people in the world doing this.
Yeah.
So that was the support, but we soon learned to start our own support groups. I started many in a home, my husband and I, with other parents. We didn't have conferences in Canada, so we went all the way, South Carolina, and found a homeschool conference that we could be part of.
Exciting.
Yeah.
Wow. Would you say, well, actually, you've had a few years now to reflect on your years of homeschooling. Mm-hmm. And I saw a video of yours that you said there were 4 lessons that you had learned. I'm just going to share what those lessons are. You said that number 1 was to know your child best as a parent, as a homeschool parent. Number 2, to be a student of your student, which is the one that we're going to focus on today. Number 3, research their unique needs, which is a theme of live coming up in a few months. And number 4 was remember what matters most. Can you expand a little bit on that? Be a student of your student?
Absolutely. I think that, I learned that saying after I finished homeschooling, but it so reflected the, you know, the thinking, the idea, it just so encompasses, like, you have to know your child. When I say first, you know your child best, I really believe that over and over as I consult with homeschool families. I really believe that mothers know their children. You've had them since the beginning. And so you ask the mother, what's your instinct? What do you think? But then as a mother of a homeschooling mom, I think you have to look at your student and say, what's unique about them and how can I reach this child? And I think we naturally do this. It's not, right? You learned even when they were like before school age, you watched them and you figured out when they needed their nap and what worked for you and what didn't work for everyone else. And, you know, what worked for everyone else might not work for you. And I think that as we homeschool, we have to continue that journey and not let the system or the ideas that we've had in our minds about what this is supposed to look like take over what our student really needs, which means really looking at what are their needs and how do they learn best. Really looking at your child to say, okay, so is it first thing in the morning? Do I start before they even have any free time? Let's get and do some of the actual lessons that I really feel that need to be done. Or are they best with letting them have some time and then bringing them in? So those sorts of really being flexible as a homeschool mom to say, what's going to work best for this student?
And you had 5 children that you were educating at the same time. Maybe you can share some stories, because I'm thinking just of my 3. One liked to get up first thing and get to his work even before breakfast or with breakfast. But then the next one liked to sleep in a little bit. And
especially as they get older, for sure. And that's true, you know, with 5, you know, somehow you're the chief executive officer, you know, the CEO of your homeschool, and you have to manage all of this. But certainly, I can remember, you know, that those variances too. And so some of my kids would, you know, I would make their chart and I'd say, this has to be done this week. You know, you can, I mean, and I changed from time to time. Like for some of my kids, they want to see the whole picture. What do I have to do this week? Let me get a handle on this. And is it okay if I do all my math pages today? Sure. Right? Whereas others are like, how many of these numbers do I have to finish today? Right? They don't want that flexibility. So I think as a mom, to have the flexibility to allow, to really look at what, you know, where we're rubbing. Because I think to be a student of your student says we're the ones that change. And that's hard for us as homeschool moms, because I think we have this idea in our minds of what this is going to look like and how it probably looks like in your home. Because I'm listening to you and it may sound like you have this figured out and everything's beautiful in Diana's house. I can't make that happen in my house. And then being able to say, or I want to do it just like you do, from what I hear you say, that doesn't work for us.
No, that's a very important thing for families to remember. Virginia put in a comment that flexibility is so key, and it's not easy for a lot of us. A good point also is when we look around at other homeschool families, it does look like everybody has it together, doesn't it? I've shared that our family looked like that also when we were out, because that's what we enjoyed doing. We enjoyed being out. But then when we all came back into the home, then it wasn't always like that. I think that's an important thing to share and to let especially new homeschoolers know that. But yeah, flexibility for sure.
And I would remember, when we would go to these homeschool conferences, and I was this new mom with nursing babies around me, with me at these conferences, and my little ones at home, and I'm frazzled, because I probably was. I'd listen to these speakers and I'd be just wowed, like, oh my goodness, like there's just no way I'm ever going to be able to do that, right? And then before you know it, I'm the speaker, and I'm reminding the people that are listening that just because I talk about these cool things we did, that was like, a handful of times in our life, not every single day.
And you were homeschooling for a long time.
A very long time.
Yeah. Tell me, you often reference one of your children who steered you in the direction that you're spending a lot of your time now with unique learners, as you as you call them.
Yeah.
Maybe you could tell us a little bit about that child and his strengths and how that influenced his education.
Yeah, so important. He was my youngest, and I had been homeschooling for a while. So, in my mind, you just add a new one and you give them the same kind of stuff you've done before, and this is just going to work. And it didn't. And so reading was really hard for him, and I just figured it was my fault because I probably just have too many children. I'm probably just not helping him, And then you realize that actually he's lived in a literate, rich world and home, and this should be easy, but it's hard. And so understanding his weaknesses at that point, but the whole time thinking, I'm not worrying about it because this kid he's amazing. Like, he would at age 3 ask my uncle, like I often share this story, my brother-in-law, his uncle, how many pounds of weight are on the wheels of your trailer?
Ooh.
Like, he would wonder and ask these amazing questions, and you knew that he was brilliant, right? It wasn't an intellectual challenge that he had as much as an understanding of reading. And in the end, it was, discovered that he had auditory processing challenges. But really then looking at those strengths, and I'm thinking all the way through, his strengths clearly are building and, hands-on, like mechanical things. And that was really the clue. He was 3. Turned out, he's then, grows into high school. He did some co-ops at auto mechanic shops. Like, that was his interest. And he graduated and went to college to be an airplane technician. And so that is, he's just finishing building his own house. So those were his strengths. And so focusing on them at the same time as addressing the weaknesses, of course, but really looking at what is this child so good at? And that is the same for all of our children. I would always look at, because I really believed that as they grew, they needed to find their niche. And that might be, I just didn't want my kids going to college or university just for the sake of it. Even then, they go and they switch because that's just our life. The way things are these days, they take one path and then they another path. And that's great. But I would always try to think about, what do they love? Do they love being outdoors? Do they love organizing? Looking at those strengths. So that's where this being a student of your student comes in. What do they love doing? And then finding an application for that.
I love also that you're looking at strengths, not because we're educators, educating our children. You're not only looking at academic strengths and weaknesses, so much more to a person's strengths, and then encouraging them in those, as you did.
Yeah, for absolutely sure. And that is part of homeschooling that sometimes gets neglected because we are so focused on getting a science book done. we're finishing, making sure we've got all the credits, right? That we're not looking at education as a door to the future.
Yeah. And that's a good just introduction to our next month at Spark Homeschool Parent is we're looking at purpose. The P in Spark is purpose. Looking at the purpose of this homeschool journey, whether it's a long one or not. Tell me about your children now. So your son, yes?
Yes. The youngest is married with 2 little girls, and they are just finishing building their house. And of course, the airline industry has had some challenges due to COVID. So he's looking and wondering what's next in that area. My oldest is a mom of 4 and is homeschooling.
Beautiful.
And it works, works part-time and is has her master's of social work. And so she works with young moms in programs. So that's awesome. My second is a mom of 3 and is homeschooling now and is a midwife and graduated as a midwife. So she's, again, the juggle of life, trying to do both. My third graduated as she's married and has 2 young children, and she is a marketing grad and sets up websites and does that from home. And my fourth, so the older 3 were girls and the younger 2 were boys. So our fourth is married and has 3 children, and his wife's homeschooling, and they. He is now he's a paramedic and graduated as a paramedic and then switched careers and is now into construction and just starting his own business. So yeah, it's fun, very fun to be on this end.
Yes, I can imagine. And yeah, important that we recognize that each child is unique with their unique strengths, and that child who is now a midwife, I'm sure you saw clearly the caring aspect or character when she was young.
And even the medical piece, like she will talk about when we did the body units, because I was a unit study mom, and so we would go do crazy things, but we went and got a cow's heart, and she was like, let me put my fingers in it. Just like she's with placentas now.
Not everybody
loved loved the medical piece, always has. And my daughter, who's in marketing, loved, she just needed things organized and still does, likes things laid out. Would talk about how things need to be, wanted to have her lists. And I guess that's the other piece of homeschooling I think I was going to mention is some of our kids need that list. I kind of referred to it at the beginning, but just tell me what to do so I can do it. And other kids are like, do I really have to do that one? Because I really want to do it this way. And you're like, meh, please just let me get it done. But giving them that freedom to be able to say, all right, I'll meet you.
Yeah.
To figure out is this important? How important is this? And if they have a better way, well, we're teaching them life skills that is amazing.
Again, being flexible as the mom, generally moms, I refer to homeschool moms, but as parents, flexible to each one, flexible to our own schedule, because we have our own ideas of how we want to spend our day.
Absolutely. Or and we just want them, I remember thinking, everybody said it can be done by noon. Well, it's 2:00 and we're not done. I just want to be done. Right. But, and then being able to say, to your one child, I remember, when algebra and trig stuff was coming in, my kids were bringing me their stuff. I'm like, I don't have a clue. Could you wait till Dad gets home? And don't bring me that at 10:00 at night, because I'm done.
Right. I think that's a topic of another conversation too. Just having others help with the learning or with the teaching.
Absolutely.
And where different people in the house
Yeah.
and the family contribute. Yeah, I really appreciate you sharing your experience with us, Diane, and I'm sure our listeners have also. We
You're
could talk
welcome.
for hours, I'm sure.
We have lots in common, and
We
yeah.
do. Yeah. But if you wouldn't mind being a guest again, I'd love to continue the conversation.
Sure. That sounds great. Well, it's
And,
a
oh,
privilege.
sorry.
Go on. No, it's just a privilege to share and encourage and, cheer the younger moms on to say, you can do this. You really can do this.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, and remembering it isn't always easy, but you can continue to be flexible, follow the direction of your children. If we could just set some rules, Diane? But like you said, right from the beginning, it's a transformation of ourselves that we have the benefit of seeing at this end. But
yeah, and there's hard days. I would never want to discredit or throw away the days that I would be a puddle of tears. The days when my kids would say, if mom starts vacuuming, just stay away. Right? It's like I might lose it, and so just let me go do something physical. And there's always vacuuming to be done.
Yeah.
But I just needed some noise around me that was tuning them all out and allowing myself to refocus, because it's not easy. You're going to have conflicts with your kids. They're going to grow and discuss and question, why in the world do I have to do this? Or you realize one day that you've been giving them this work and you didn't check it every day. And, a month went by and they haven't done it. And you're like, what? But I think that's where the then coming back, that's where the relationship. So that last point of my 4 points that in that video was relationships matter most. So you come back to them with, what were you thinking? Like, now you're going to be behind. Are you going to be finished before June? And that is where your relationship and you're helping them on their journey of learning, of being able to be successful in life.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Which really...
Yeah. I didn't want to quit without saying there's hard days.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for that. Yeah, your 4th point was remember what matters most.
Mm-hmm. Remembering that the relationships that are for life. And hindsight's clear sight. I often will say that in my own talks, but it's easy for me to look back now. But it's also a privilege to look at my relationship with our children now and to be able to say it was really worth it. And the relationship with each other, when in the middle of it, you're like, they're gonna kill each other. Right? Mm-hmm. They're so, they're with each other every day. But the beauty of watching that is really a real blessing.
Yeah, that's a great, although I'd love to continue the conversation, that's a great place to end, Diane. Thank you so much.
Okay, you're welcome. Bye now.
This is Spark Homeschool Parent. Our commitment is to equip you with the skills and the mindset to navigate through this ever-changing homeschool journey, as you heard from Diane Geerlinks today. If you're looking for a community of encouragement, join us if you haven't already in the Spark Homeschool Parent Facebook group. Next week, again, Facebook Live, Friday, 1 p.m., and we'll be starting our focus on purpose. Setting goals for yourself, setting goals for your children, setting goals for this homeschool journey, whether it's a long one for your family or if it's just temporary. Until next week, remember, as a homeschool parent, you can be the spark that ignites your child's learning.